I guess that doesn't look too bad. So earlier I was playing back one of my podcasts, and the dog, who sometimes gets hyper when I'm on the phone or doing podcasts, was being good. He's been between two chairs in 10 minutes, and he's being good, but he just looked up at me, and I think he may or may not get up and start barking and wanting a dog treat, chew, stick thingy. However, he gets that way when I'm on the phone too, and I'm going to be on the phone at some point. Whether it'll be at the planned time or if the person sees this and says, "Would you like a call?" earlier, I might. I did. I thought change it to 9 because as long as I have a half hour, 45 minutes to my usual get up time and then time after, I'm good. Anywho, so far the dog's been good. Hopefully the radio is not too loud. I felt like I just needed a bit of background noise and didn't want to just be hearing my voice because I've been doing a lot of videos lately, and then there's life, and I'm sitting far from it, and the AC is noisy, and I'm talking. So hopefully YouTube will not pick up on the music that I'm hearing in the room. But I just wanted to do at least a quick one. I had a cool idea for a video, but at the moment, I've kind of talked myself out of it. But then I got this one, and I feel like I'm looking down at the computer, which I often do. I feel like I need that, which is upstairs. Um, I noticed this the other day, and he's laying back on his foot now, so he's maybe just gonna be good. I noticed this the other day, and I guess it maybe only works with computers. Come to think of it, I don't know if there's a setting otherwise. Kind of like locking seems like it isn't an option. Um, but basically, and I almost want to wait for somebody to tune in. I've been feeling slow this morning. I mean, I am anyway, but my sinuses and my throat were a bit not too bad yesterday. Even right, you know, to bedtime and falling asleep. And I did the podcast in the evening. I did another one during the day. I had somebody else around. The other person in the house was around. Although even when not, if I'm by myself, I'm talking to the dog. I'm talking to me. So I mean, but no, I just usually I don't. But this morning I kind of broke up, and sometimes I do. I guess with the anywho, people are going to see this afterwards and think I don't think he's getting to the topic. It's 2 minutes in. My ADHD is starting to kick in, and is he ever going to? And but the thing is I do kind of want to wait at least for somebody to tune in. You know, um, whether they decide to join the chat or not, we'll have to just see. But yes, I feel like it needs to be on me. No, I know it maybe looks a certain way, but I just feel like it might make my neck not feel sore later. That's not bad, I guess. Not too distracting either. But really, 4 minutes, about 4 minutes is not that long to wait. Oh, I also just wanted to remember to also state, and then I'll have some time between this and my call, to also state that I sometimes have asked, what is this new chat summary thing about? Apparently, AI can summarize what's happening. I don't think it said in the video, in the chat. I mean, if people can't, I mean, and most people are some level of ADHD, I would say, especially in the world of, the internet and stuff, social media and stuff. But I mean, if people can't read a bit of the chat and also, it just looks like, because, and also listen, or can't just simply be present and listen and then put their own comment. I mean, I have my struggles, and maybe sometimes I struggle with that, but that's a thing that maybe a lot of people need to work on. I don't know. Um, Plus, if it was really active, like I'm thinking of one particular, well, not just one person, but And I don't know. I don't see a lot of things live, except for the few that I've been following lately. Most of it's afterwards. But I mean, if it's really active, I yeah, I could be good, but I don't know if they'd be that good. Anywho, yeah, I kind of want to do something with a cool idea I had, and kind of see where it goes, and kind of wing it as well. But I kind of don't. I did get an interesting song inspiration the other day. I kind of quickly want to mention that. Although maybe I don't. Maybe I want to know my specific, unique inspiration, and then you know. But I thought about that the other day too. It's like, with the music industry, that is the particular song is a bit louder. I'm hoping it's not heard in here, because I can't, I don't think I can isolate that out of the background. But I do want it on, and I just put it on, and blah blah blah. Anywho, I don't really like the idea of, if I just keep talking over it, then it'll be okay. Sometimes it'll be louder than others. I mean, it's not like it's a super loud song, but it keeps catching my ear. But I mean, I will openly admit that I do have ADHD. I can hyper focus into things, as a lot of us can that have it, but I do have it. I mean, there's no yeah, and she's got a morning routine. She's not going to be able to. But I mean, a lot of people do. But some people that see this, it won't be morning, or they don't. You know. Um, it's a strength and a weakness, I would say. But no, I was just thinking about, as far as releasing originals on here, and I know my specific inspiration, and some are uh, very specific, some not. But as far as, I mean, I don't really like spending time in the studio. Can't afford it. The other person in the home has some of that abilities. We don't exactly have a studio, but has a program and has some of those abilities. But we sometimes butt heads. I could learn it, but I'm not super savvy in that way, and I think I'd more likely get annoyed and frustrated, or like, oh, I don't want to like mess something up, and you know and you know um and my brother lives too far away. I was thinking about contacting him the other day, uh but I still can't get past the fact that he said, it's nice to hear the birds now that spring is here, when I know they maybe hibernate a little bit in the winter, and I'm not talking hugely about winter here, but you kind of hear birds often. In fact, we're hearing birds in a kind of an interesting way. Not at the moment. I was going to say right now, and you're like, I don't hear no birds. Um, and there was somebody briefly there for a few seconds. But in the bathroom, we have a not in use, and I don't even think it works, fan. And we believe that on the outside of it, or where the intake, whatever you want to call it, is, there might be a bird nest. And also, I did recently, and makes the creatures upset. I hope we won't have to put money towards that. That we saved towards them coming back, and they were expensive the first time. But sometimes it sounds like it's closer to the faucet end, or a different part of the wall. I don't think it's great that they're in there, and I don't think they're stuck, because I don't always notice them, but they seem to like to go in there. It must be awkward, unless it's more spacious than I thought. But they haven't yet. Sometimes they're quite noisy, and they're making this weird driddly sound the other day. But I don't think they could get inside. We used to have a wood stove. We didn't use it a lot, although now I'm wanting to be by a wood stove. I mean, it's warm, but kind of muggy and hazy out. And I don't know. I really just want to smell one. I'm otherwise comfortable temperature wise, but I don't remember us using it a ton. Um, for whatever reason, and at one point, in some points of time, we actually had quite a few people in the household, like like our family and then roommates. Um, I was thinking about that house the other day. Um, Dreads and mess. Um, but I know that occasionally we did have to kind of chase after a bird that had gotten in, and they're just confused about the environment they're in, and wanting back outside. They don't know that we're necessarily trying to help them get there, right? So and mice are almost the same, but more rodent-y, right? But I thought it says it when you post it. Anyway. Yeah, it was nice. Those people said that they're gonna need help. Only one person was a little bit rude, but basically, yeah. So I want to get to the main thing because ADHD and such is very real. I think that I'm captivating, to be honest. No, just kidding. I think that I am interesting enough to listen to that anybody. But sometimes I'm thankfully nobody's rude, but sometimes people don't stick around and chat either, and sometimes they don't even stay listening very often. I can understand if maybe they're a little, but I mean, it's not like it's a busy chat a lot of the time anyway. Sometimes, but not a lot of the time. And sometimes when it is, it's with one person. You know, like I mean, but anyway, we don't have to go there. I do and I don't get it, but I just wanted to, yeah, I, yeah, I like I say, I'm not trying to judge people with like really short attention spans. It also comes in with patience and you know other underlying things perhaps too. And I do understand that. I do get it. And then at times I relate to it. But at the same time, like I think some people might call it like an epidemic of sort. Like it's like you know, um, and people of different beliefs, especially older generations, have certain beliefs I don't entirely feel are accurate. I was just hearing something kind of related to that, kind of not, which kind of inspired the title because my strategy didn't really work for me. It mostly did. It mostly did this morning, but it showed me a TED Talks, and I want to like it. At first, I thought her mic was making too much extra noise or background noise, but ironically, because of the other topic I was on, but I know how you're like, how's that topic? Oh, and then we got one, but normally I don't need it. I noticed when I was playing guitar, there was a couple times I felt like I did, but I don't know. I mean, I guess it's basically around the topic of comparing, and it makes sense that we do so. And I don't think it's necessarily bad, but it can be. And she was saying something about how sometimes we feel like our friends and connections are more lucky than us. Not me personally, although kind of sometimes. And but you know, she she came across, so she came at it, and I would imagine she prepared her talk from a way that sounded like it was going to be kind of um, focusing more, I don't know, more strongly on one side of the topic than the other. And I found that she didn't, she didn't, she didn't hold my interest and my level of agreeing strong enough with the side she was kind of talking most about. I was going to say first about, but she may have slightly like she did say something about how when some people post about things they're grateful for, they're not necessarily trying to do it to make somebody feel jealous or whatever. Maybe they actually are grateful for it, and I wish less people would smell like cheese. Anywho, but and like I knew someone who did it when she was having different stages of cancer, and you know, uh, she realized, I guess, that her life may be uh, shorter than um, well, the average is so varied these days, but may have, may. Why is this over here? Not usually. Of course, that did that. Just a moment, please. And I am going to turn this down because it's a bit loud. Hopefully, it's not going to be good. It's not loud, but it's loud for YouTube. But from pop to rap, and I'm kind of curious about it because I wouldn't mind trying to do more rap. I'm not necessarily great at it, but I'm not terrible. Oh, God. Okay. I'm just going to lean on this, actually. Although I don't want the AC blowing too much towards my face because my eyes are a little bit sensitive at the moment. A bit dry or whatever. But I do want to make sure. So I may not have completed that topic that I just said, but I do want to make sure to kind of say the other one because I think. Sorry, it was just like I'm trying to figure out which way it was blowing and how much of it was left in there. I think it's potentially very helpful. I never noticed that the sticker was sideways, but it doesn't seem movable. I think it's potentially very helpful. Now, one thing I will say is if you still find yourself opening up, things when you come to the news feed, whether it's mine or otherwise, maybe it's meant to be. And I really do. Maybe some people don't feel it as strongly as me, and I kind of would rather wait to. Well, I'll just put a little something here. And there's a smiley too. So even if that doesn't stand out, that might. Um, I don't know how long I've managed to kind of get a bit of energy as I'm doing this here, but at the same time, there's not been anybody here, which is more to keep up with, but energizing, motivating. I mean, it's only been 16 minutes, it's true. But and sometimes I kind of speak on this topic, but not really. But I do intend to. So, but it's early morning here. It wasn't hectic. I was replying to somebody's texts. It's all good if they see this because I know we've been talking about that a little bit, and I'm trying to check things out on here. But I don't know. My brain is just very active and slightly overwhelmed right now, and I don't know if it's even as much the ADHD. I mean, maybe partly, or as much as I mean, it's weird. Like I have a phone meeting where we can talk about whatever's on my mind with somebody later, and honestly, I have thought of a second topic, maybe a third, but no, it's just general stuff. It's just general stuff. Now, I may have only um, kind of mastered this as far as YouTube goes. And again, or, I don't know, part of me wants to wait till somebody tunes in, but because usually there's at least a little bit of activity, even if it's just a little bit here and there, and perfect. So, what I have noticed myself trying to do a couple times recently is when I come to, and the viewer left, when I go, I don't know. I mean, I guess I try to remember that there's always the people that review afterwards. And I'll just say this, like, they matter too, and they're appreciated. And I must say that I don't feel like I hear from them super often, occasionally. But I don't know. When I'm live streaming, I'm very much in the live action mode, so to speak. For lack of a different way to put it, I'm very much in the. Oh, I'm curious, to see how many people tune in and what they may say, and 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 yeah, just for the. I mean, part of it is possibly whether I should admit to this or not. Sorry, my legs are just a bit chilly. I'm just covering them. Um, because the AC, even though the stuff in front of it's kind of blowing in that on them. Um, this is not right. No. Um, it is true, and I've realized that I'm not the only one that does this. Some people, if they have a bit of a smaller circle, or they feel like this is where I don't know. It's definitely not entirely where I feel most connected. I don't know. It's just a particular time in life, and Ray spoke so beautifully to it the other day. It just 2 podcasts ago. So um, near the middle or end. But you know, I don't know if this is. I mean, whoever hears it hears it. Whoever doesn't. I suppose. But I mean, sometimes I'm posting because I really feel like I have a good idea or nice music to share. Uh, you know, uh, Sometimes I'm looking for for input, and other times I'm looking to give it. Um, but for me, it's not only worthwhile, but more worthwhile when there's engagement. I will say that, and I think most YouTubers would. So again, I don't know if this piece of advice is more for people that create or just in general, but I feel like it's a little bit more for people who create content. And I do feel like it's a little bit more for YouTube. Now, and I'm just going to jump right into it. The dog's being pretty calm in that, and it's 3 hours, I believe, or close to 4, I think, actually, before my call. Chapstick. Uh, but, and I'm feeling in the mode to do a live, but I mean, if this happens to be, because sometimes they're often, sometimes they're not. If this happens to be one of the ones where I roll for more than an hour and there's not a whole lot of activity, like lovely comments and likes and stuff, then, I mean, again, I get something from it too. People afterwards might, but there's something about it happening while live streaming that is especially, especially intriguing and I want to say motivating, but not always. But again, afterwards is fine too. And I don't know how long I want to roll. I don't want there to be gaps where I'm not saying much. One, because essentially the radio is still on, although I turned it down a little bit. And two, just because, you know, at the same time, sometimes I do need to take a short break, a short rest. And there's no pause button. And I'm still learning the editing feature, and it's a little bit finicky, I find. But I want to finally get to it. Um, However, I gave myself about a minute grace. So I said I would start at the 23 mark. So with what I really want to say. So unless somebody tunes in, I'm going to give myself this, 15 seconds or so, 20. I messed up that math. But I will say, though, as it hits the 23 mark, I will say, though, that I do feel like this is a really good tip and strategy. And I really would like to know. I guess here's the thing, and it's like I say, often the case when putting content, and I don't want to be sounding too repetitive here, but I'm kind of saying it in different ways. Um, I want to know that this strategy is for sure reaching somebody. And sure, it's likely because this is YouTube, but I would know it even more so if I saw an indication of even one person watching at the top at the moment. I haven't been rolling super long, and I don't. But that being said, there has been this weird glitch lately that I've noticed with mine and that I've heard a couple other people talk about. Even though I'm on YouTube quite a bit, but I guess I'm not hearing a lot of people mention it, and I don't know if it's been fixed. I think I noticed it kind of the case last night, but I think she was kind of coming and going a bit. Well, not a lot, but a little bit. I think everyone went to heaven. But where sometimes zero, like, but I think that's after somebody has already came in. Sometimes I'll get a like, and then there's a few seconds delay before it says that there's somebody viewing. But as I've mentioned in other videos, sometimes somebody will be here, and then it'll go 0. And it says, "Oh, you left." She's like, "No, I'm still here." you know. So I guess there could be somebody here, and if there is, if you could give this a like and subscribe if you haven't yet, I'd appreciate it. But Just because the like's not coming doesn't mean somebody's not there. I know. Although it should, because not to toot my own bugle, but what's not to like, I mean, here's the thing. We're never going to like somebody fully. I mean, this stands out in my mind because of one particular thing. And I do and don't think of it often, but, where the other person I have said no one's going to be, and man, even though we had a great weekend, it was annoying me a few times. And it's kind of like, it rang true, but we still really care about each other and that. But nobody's going to be entirely who you want them to be. So as long as somebody's a good person and trying to be a you know positive person in others' lives and for themselves as well, then we can't like everything about everybody. We certainly can come close, though, I would say, um, with certain people. Um, and I would say it's one of those things where you have to know what your values are, and you know if it's something, even though it's a difference, that you can accept or not. Um, the seconds are ticking so fast. I'm like trying to type when this will come in, and the topic, and it's going faster than even my fast typing. Okay, well, I said 2650, and you're like, but you didn't mean it. So, sayonara, I don't got all day, even if it's a short one. But no, I mean, I do want to mean it. But how? Oh, okay, right. I was thinking 25. I'm like, how did 2 minutes just go by? Because 2 minutes went by. No, but I mean, seriously, almost. Um, you know, so I know I said 2650. This is pretty close to that. I do appreciate, your patience and your understanding. There's still a strong part of me that, I think I've seen an indicator twice at the top, or at least once, that somebody was watching. But I know I can go a long while where somebody isn't either. And I do feel like this is worth mentioning. I mean, sometimes when I'm doing these videos, when I'm doing videos, I have more of an idea as to what I want to cover or the things and songs I want to cover than other times. Um, there's always a level of, even when this chat's not very active, a level of winging it, being organic in the moment, which reminds me a little bit late, but in the moment the other day when I was doing a cooking podcast, and yeah, maybe it wasn't, you know, the fanciest of dishes, but it felt fancy to me. And if Sheila's wondering, turns out it wasn't gravy, it was marinade, and the instructions were confusing on it, more confusing than it should have been. And we didn't really want to marinate what we were making, and we kind of wanted to make it quick and eat it. So we didn't end up having anything with gravy last night. But um, oh, I said something about how uh, being organic. And then I joked afterwards, actually, right, the other person in the house, I said something about or vegan, kosher sometimes. And I mean, I'm not joking. I'm not meaning to judge anybody's different styles, and we don't have to, talk much about that really and get into, debates. I mean, I ebb and flow, fluctuate with my eating preferences, and they all make sense. And you know what? It helps balance out, availability and access for other people. If other certain people don't like certain things, again, we're not all going to like the same things. But okay, I'm 2 minutes off. Hopefully, the person, when they see the mention of where I tried to bring this up, will still be here. And if not, this may not be much longer than this. In which case, hopefully, they'll just watch the rest. Uh, and even if it is longer than this, even if you can't do it all at once, it'd be lovely if you did, absorb the rest and comment your thoughts. But and the dog was just being great. And I mean, I don't know. Considering how I was feeling waking up, not that I'm, I mean, some mornings I am, but I'm often slow. This morning I kind of especially felt like it, even though I think I'm an hour and a half lacking in sleep, but we'll see if I end up getting it. But basically, the strategy that I'm finally going to say, and again, I already stated earlier, and if you got this far, I would imagine you've seen what I said previous. I don't know exactly when I said it, but I'll just explain what it is, and if it makes sense to you and it's something that you want to try out, then you do, and let me know how it works for you. When I come to the news feed to do a live stream, or just in general, it shows you a bunch of videos, right? And I think you're meant to see what you're meant to see and open and click what you're meant to open and click. And somebody did just tune in, so welcome a minute or two ago. However, it can be distracting or not, but it can be distracting when you are trying, especially when you're trying not to get too much open on your device. And I do feel, although it could be with either, that it's a little bit easier to do this with a laptop when you're trying to do something specific, not just on YouTube, but especially, or you're trying to, yeah, or just overstimulated, inundated by the amount of entertainment media and content that is out there. And there's a lot of great stuff. I mean, I'm not the only great stuff out, great content out there. To toot my own bugle a little bit. But there it is. And you know, if you're anything like me, it ebbs and flows, but sometimes it doesn't, you don't seem so sensitive to it, and other times you do. And it's not like, I mean, sure, I've got some things on my mind, and I don't know. I mean, I don't feel uh, extremely stressed about anything. I mean, you know, uh, I wouldn't say that I'm without stresses. I mean, and I don't think there's usually a time that I am, or that most of us are. But I'm certainly, yeah. So, but for whatever reason, I mean, maybe it's because it's their device. I know it's going to need to, not only bring it down, but also just how much I got going on it. So it might be a bit of that. But he doesn't mention it much. It's the same with the cleaning. Like I was looking at how even though there was some stuff on the couch, there's even more now because I was trying to do some organizing a few days ago. And yeah, I'm not happy with the fact that she's being suspicious about plastic, especially even for volunteering, because they would have had to mail them to me, but blah blah blah. And it would have only been the one time, anywho, which I think was obvious. But no, we had an enjoyable week and didn't make any comments about. Yeah, she didn't even mention that those have been moved. Come to think of it, and that's been at least 2 or 3 days. They're still kind of visible, depending on where I put the camera, but if I'm at the piano. Anywho, so what I do, or what I've done a couple times and want to start doing more, I will feel slightly like I'm missing out on content, but I can't see it all. Even with being in a bit of a rut or, slow point at the moment and having lots of time, I mean, I do. I start to feel overstimulated. I've got lots of other stuff that I already have open that I can watch. Like and I don't know. I mean, if I land on something, I will feel okay, perhaps meant to be, sure. But um, but it's yeah. So what I do, I'm so sorry that this is taking me so long to get to this. Not that anybody's watching at the moment, and really there hasn't been a lot of activity at the front. But 26. I mean, this is still less than 10 minutes to that point, and you know, intentionally but not intentionally, I think that the topic that this video mentions of I think that it I think that it will resonate with a lot of people, and and it's something where maybe a lot of people do feel like they need a tip and strategy, And if you're anything like me, whether you try to look at it, whether you look for them or YouTube or whatever, and I'm just noticing how bright that light is on the camera. It's always there, but when it's on, or you're being shown it. Um, there's always charger pulled out. Last one I noticed the other day was, whoops, the tablet falling on the ground. It doesn't have a good case. Doesn't look like it's any worse. Crap. Was that the battery? It wasn't flashing or like giving any kind of indicator that it needed to be plugged in, but wasn't full. I noticed. Anywho, um, yeah, I feel like it I almost feel like it's one of those things. Same with mental health and such, where a lot of people will likely feel, and hopefully, like you just can't get enough suggestions. You just can't get enough suggestions because it's something that you so frequently deal with and potentially struggle with, right? So before I open a new tab, and like I say, for me, I'm noticing this mostly and I've only noticed it a couple times so far, but when I'm coming to content create or to do a podcast, right? I mean, I think we all know what content create means, but just to say it in a second way, um, you know, and I have a general idea. I will say though, sometimes what it shows and kind of putting it off occasionally, or just simply practicing what it shows, can add to the ideas you're already having or what you end up posting about. That is true, and I think that is where organic can have a lot of potentially good, uh, can be good. Uh, but um, but what I do is when I open a new tab, so I just put some lotion on my feet. I know, just because you're gonna wonder what's he doing. Not necessarily because I felt like you needed to know specifically, but but when I open a new tab, I put lotion on my feet. That's the first thing, that helps, gets me in the relaxation mode. Actually, I don't. I use it so frequently, and I just didn't get great that I don't really think about it. I mean, it's not I mean, I guess it's kind of a massage that I'm giving. I don't know. I don't really associate it with that anymore. Anywho, I was thinking about Aaron recently. And is this Aaron Brockovich? Nope, but it is Julia Roberts. Sorry, I just had a DVD there. Anywho, when I open up a tab, like ADHD is a real disorder, and it's possibly, I was gonna say it's one of the easiest ones to deal with. I would say maybe, what I mean by that is I would say maybe it's one of the more pleasant ones to, like I would say dealing with ADHD, although it's hard, is more pleasant than depression, other disorders. In fact, for a long time, I don't even think it was listed as a mental health disorder or condition. Um, I don't know if it is now, but anyway, opening up a new tab before you even click to YouTube, bringing the window. I don't know why I was about to actually physically do it when this is not what I'm doing right now. I'm just describing it, but that. I guess that's the teacher in me coming out. Um, and the doer, the I learn best and I guess explain best by doing and seeing a lot of the time, you know. And it's not that schools aren't set up that way. Oh, by the way, just quickly, and it'll depend where people live, I guess, but I'm pretty sure that a nearby school to us has had a graduation a couple weeks ago because there was a lot more cars in the parked in the area, and it is around that time, I would imagine. Meanwhile, I saw a guy who always walks his kid and their dog to the school bus, which sometimes I've noticed it'll drop them off at the corner, lately it's just been the one out of the two brothers, and then turned down this street anyway. you know, and actually I've seen it stop on the street and nobody around, and it does of course take up a lot of space. I think it knows the family, but then you'd think you'd I guess maybe they think, oh, it's good for him to get his exercise in or whatever, and I have to go straight or whatever. Whoever has to go straight, just kidding. But no, I'm not gay. No, they will say that. Not quite. But anywho, um, anyway, and I know we were talking about kids, so that was a bad combination there, perhaps, and I didn't mean for it to be. But no, I was a little bit confused because I did notice that it seems a lot more quieter in the area. This morning was kind of the first morning I noticed, but I was really craving fresh air more than some mornings. I guess I just felt it was kind of stuffy down here, and I felt it might help wake me up, and I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't. But I was actually just simply standing at the door, and I noticed them go by, and it's like literally as I'm saying, "Oh yeah, school's out," but then maybe not. Yeah, no. But college, university, grade school, high school, they might all kind of vary a little bit, but all of them should be getting their summer break soon, I would imagine. I don't want to put a third time marker because people are going to start to be like, "Yep, probably not," unless I end up wrapping this up soon. And then they think, okay, maybe he did finally get to it. Anywho, you pull the window down. Put your pants down. Just kidding. What's that necessarily mean? I'm sorry. No filter, just being a goof. Please don't judge me too harshly. Some people will like the joke. Some people might get a little bit uptight about it, but no, try to be less uptight. I'm just being silly. Nobody's watching right now anyway, but you pull the window down so that all that you can see is the very top, like the search bar, and then the now I'm pointing at the screen. I didn't realize. I mean, I do and I don't, but I guess I don't feel I get a lot of, you know, I've not been feeling like I get a lot of opportunity lately to build on my skills and just to, I guess, be a purpose somebody's. And so I guess it's true, like, you know, and I guess some things are more because I'm talking about something with the computer. I guess maybe that's why, because otherwise I'd just be talking. And mostly I have been, but it's interesting to notice like the physical, tactile stuff that I'm doing as I'm explaining this. This would have been really interesting to have somebody here talking to it about it. Anywho, and even acknowledging that I'm doing it as I'm about to start explaining it again, I almost start doing it again. I'm curious actually to play this back later and see if it's like, now you just see my eyes. I don't know. Anywho, um, and then when I clicked live chat again, it put the YouTube as well. So again, this is no offense to anybody else's content. This is no offense to YouTube. This is um, but uh, yeah, if you do that, so that before you either before you open it or right as you're opening it quickly, so that essentially you're not seeing the content that it's suggesting to you. I wouldn't say do this all the time. Again, I'm thinking and noticing it as a podcaster, as a big word. But okay, so I got most of that thing. Right. Anyway, I'm noticing it as a podcaster. And That's a very funky song, in the Pony on the Boat song. Anywho, but yeah, basically, and I feel like it's kind of a louder song, and it might be being heard more than YouTube would like it to be. But yeah, so basically, I think you get what I'm saying, though. Basically, make it so that you don't notice those things, so that you can do what you want to do. But I know I've also said sometimes you're meant to. So, but if you, I guess one thing I will add to that is if you've got like a ton of ideas and you, for whatever reason, don't want to follow notes, you just want to kind of rattle them off. Um, and you don't want to add to that or get overstimulated, I would suggest trying that. Um, 44 mark. Okay. And I'm going to wrap this up. I wish that it had been a bit more engaging during, but yeah, you know what? I'm just going to put the words there. Okay. Talk to you later. Bye.